Today in the crypto space, we see a lot of green, Bitcoin right around 120,000, hesitating, while Ethereum shows us the way right around $4,500 mark, up approximately 5%, and the rest of the crypto space, these altcoins deep in the green. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, guys, I want to focus on Ethereum. If Ethereum continues like this, obviously we're going to see more green throughout the space. However, guys, what about if it dips? Are we going to be ready? So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike. Let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins. Looking for opportunity, whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on, because we definitely are seeing green, particularly Ethereum. Ethereum right now is, in my opinion, and I mentioned this before, we might as well just go to price discovery. Might as well go to all-time highs, and I have a feeling that's what's happening here. However, the reality is from a trading perspective, Ethereum is hitting some very, very psychological levels. And getting into these psychological zones where we start to see price discovery, previous highs, usually, guys, that's resistance. That's usually, even if it's psychological resistance, it is a level of which we can anticipate a pullback or some sort of, sell-off or an exchange of hands or something that could give us a breather to the downside. And if that were to happen, given that Bitcoin is looking a bit frothy here at about $120,000, even though that is a great target, congrats to all the Bitcoiners out there. Obviously, congrats to all the Ethereum holders, because look at this thing, it's on fire, right? But the reality is that we have to anticipate pullbacks throughout the way. So unfortunately, I am going to be, I'm going to burst the bubble just a little bit so that we can just be very, very cautious here. Because when you see projects and price action and charts that are always green and always pumping, the reality is that that's a very emotional event from the market, right? And particularly newcomers, particularly people that don't understand that, yes, it's great, and we celebrate all the pumps here on the channel, but eventually when we're in so much green, we need to start shifting our focus into, defensive strategy. And at this moment, guys, it's time to get defensive. A few months back, I was very offensive. You guys know, DCA, buy the dip, let's accumulate. These are the levels, price action to the upside, bullish momentum, everything. Now, all of a sudden, I'm going to say, look, I'm still bullish, right? We're still bullish, but we have to know that, 20% dip could definitely happen, right? We can see dips across the market. And then what happens to the altcoins, the smaller caps, they're going to get bigger, heavier dips. And some altcoins haven't even left their bear market bottoms. Let's be real about that. So the truth is that we're still dealing with an altcoin, let's say an altcoin market that hasn't really flourished that much. A lot of the larger caps definitely doing good, like even for today, obviously led by Ethereum. Bitcoin, is rotating right now into ETH, and this is what we've been, planning for. We're definitely focusing on this, and Bitcoin rotating into Ethereum shows that Ethereum, is definitely taking that capital. Market cap is rising. Everything is looking good. Okay. Then from there, it's like, okay, when do we start to see an Ethereum rotation? And for me to see Ethereum rotation means that eventually the market is looking for more risk on opportunity, which starts to introduce what's happening with BNB, what's happening with Solana at the current moment, what's happening with everything else. Look at Tron, look at Cardano, look at Chainlink. Chainlink's on fire, guys. You don't have to understand that Chainlink's been up 41% in the last 7 days. Guys, I do not recommend it to a friend to be buying into Chainlink at the current moment, because we could get a bit of a pullback. Doesn't mean that I'm not bullish on Chainlink. It just means in the short term, I don't think that you're going to be getting the best entry, given the fact that at any moment, again, there could be just a little bit of a dip that could get you maybe a 20% discount, right? And this is the reality, guys. Chainlink has done really well. I had my moment to, show you guys when to be buying Chainlink, when to be buying certain projects like Solana. You guys know I bought Solana really, really early on that crash last couple of years. And then obviously now it's like we're seeing Solana run and we're seeing Solana do so well, but Solana's not in price discovery. Ethereum is almost at that level where it gets super risky. Look at what Bitcoin did when it got into price discovery. It rotated. Now Ethereum getting into price discovery soon. It's going to rotate. We're going to see a lot of the large caps run, guys. So prepare. However, in the meantime, if we get any dips, be prepared to also take advantage of them. Chainlink has been doing great. Cardano just kind of waking up recently. What else has been doing good? Honestly, it's just Chainlink, really. Athena has been doing great. A few others. But the reality is that nothing really has been performing as well as Ethereum given its market cap. You got to understand that it is a large cap altcoin. So we have to expect that, it's going to take a lot more market cap for it to move. Where you start looking at the lower caps, it doesn't take as much capital to move it. Look at Athena. Athena's crazy, doing amazing. 40% to the upside in the last 7 days. Again, these are projects that, look, they could definitely have upside potential going forward. But in the short term, guys, these are projects that I'm really worried about because they've done so well. So pullbacks for me are what I'm looking at. Aave still has a potential upside. It's only up 23% only, right? But the reality is, look, if Ethereum dips, we're going to see a lot of other dips throughout the Ethereum ecosystem. So that's something to anticipate. A lot of sideways still, as you can see, some break of structures right now. Ondo breaking out, and Near Protocols looking for that opportunity. We have many others, reaching for higher highs. We have Caspa getting a nice V recovery there. A nice rounded bottom would be awesome, and so on and so forth. So you can see that the market, generally speaking, is still very, very bullish. The thing is that based on the two leading indicators, Bitcoin and Ethereum, in my opinion, it is really, really risky right now to be getting into fresh longs on assets that have already run 20, 30, 40, 50% in the last week. Okay, so just be very careful here because a lot of good gains have been made and a lot of people are going to want to take some profit. Okay, so that's that. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of these charts. I know you're here to talk about price action. Let's begin our analysis looking at Bitcoin. Obviously, Ethereum is what I want to look at, but I want to focus on Bitcoin. Why? Because Bitcoin at the end of the day has been the greatest leading indicator in this market. And as of now, as I showed you guys in the past, FOMO Central is nothing to play with. Are we going to get into another scenario where we get into another FOMO Central opportunity? Guys, it's very possible. Another extension, maybe another bull flag after this, or maybe a sweep and then a quick sell-off. And maybe we come down for a bit of a dip, and that would be totally fine, right? Still very bullish, still very in tune with, bullish sentiment. But ultimately, guys, what are we going to do if we get a pullback? Start thinking about that. Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. So again, guys, I have no choice but to be the contrarian. The contrarian in me right now has to come full force. Why? Because it's an easy way. It's very easy right now to come up with a bullish thesis. Anybody could do that, right? Obviously, the trend is your friend. Everything's green, go long, right? That's easy. However, guys, we have to start really thinking about what's the alternative here. Because the alternative is that you're blindsided and you get what you don't expect. And that's where max pain comes in. Right? It's when the majority of the market thinks things are going to happen because they have been happening. You get comfortable and the market gets comfy and the market starts taking risk. And then what happens is that's where the market says, you know what? Now it's time to induce some pain. And because everybody's thinking the same way, particularly newcomers and retail investors, that is a perfect place and perfect time to inflict some pain. So what I'm trying to do here, guys, is to really keep you guys balanced and grounded. Okay, so consider this. At the end of the day, Bitcoin has been doing great. Going sideways, we've got that nice V recovery. It's now back to range highs. Okay, it's very, very great to see that. As you guys know, FOMO Central would be amazing. Yeah, and that means if we get into FOMO central event, it's likely that Bitcoin sucks liquidity out of Ethereum and maybe some of the altcoins. They draw down just a little bit while some capital flows into Bitcoin because people are going to want to take advantage of this pump, a less risky pump. Everybody will take that. And for the most part, open interest will increase for the most part, given that most people will probably take leverage positions at this moment when we see Bitcoin kind of push. And then from there, we're seeing a little bit of froth. And that froth at these levels get people again looking for alternative assets to scale into. And then we get another mini rotation. You've noticed that altcoins do well when Bitcoin hits a level and goes sideways. Are we going to get another event like this, where we can see altcoins flourish one more time? And if that does happen, obviously there's going to be that little dip while Bitcoin runs. We'll see altcoins dip a little bit, but then we'll get another rotation and altcoins will outperform Bitcoin once again with a nice expansion to the upside. However, that's not a fear-inducing moment. You got to understand, Bitcoin running is not a fear-inducing moment. What would be a fear-inducing moment is a failed breakout, or even a rejection right here at the top of the range at about $120, where we do come down, break below these levels, and start making lower lows. That's a fear-inducing moment, right? Even a swing high and a quick failure like that, even calling it a whipsaw price action, straight down, straight up, and then obviously longs and shorts get wrecked, and then we come down for another dip and make a lower low after. This is all very possible. Regardless, that is also a fear-inducing moment, because ultimately we could start breaking a lower low. We could start testing entries at the previous breakout zone. And I am contemplating on whether that should happen for healthy price action to exist to the upside and eventually reaching our $200,000 level. The reality is peaks and valleys are necessary in this space. It allows the market to basically participate at a level where more bullish sentiment exists, where usually that is at lower levels. At higher levels, we have a lot of traders, a lot of leverage traders, and those are basically fake allocations because they're leveraged. They don't really exist. What you have to look for is where spot buys are. Spot buys are good indications of true sentiment. And that's why I like rounded bottoms. I see a V recovery. If we do come down for a nice rounded bottom in here, it would definitely get me a lot more interested to anticipate an expansion out of this zone. But at the end of the day, guys, I don't make the rules. Right now, Bitcoin is testing resistance. And if it does break out, I could expect a slight drawdown in altcoins. And then eventually, as long as we don't dip hard, and if we get into another consolidation, as we did in the past, we're entering another FOMO central scenario where pain can be inflicted. At the end of the day, you remember what happened here? How much pain was happening here? It did induce a little bit of pain in this dip. You got to admit, because everybody was getting super bullish. So that's why it's very important to just stay level-headed. At the end of the day, Bitcoin is doing very well. However, it is looking divergent like even if it makes a higher high, we're going to still maintain a Class A bearish divergence on all of this. That's a problematic thing. Obviously, we can have multiple drives of Class A bullish divergence, 1, 2, 3 touches, even 3 drives of Class A bearish divergence, while still maintaining lower highs on the momentum oscillator. And that will give you your 3 drives of bearish divergence. After 3 drives, guys, I don't play games. No fresh longs whatsoever. Because if Bitcoin gets into that, distribution phase here, even if it's short term, like I said, maybe coming down to about 110, something like that, that would be absolutely fine, because then a recovery, we start rocketing again. Huge expansions. That's what we need. Bigger, stronger expansions, parabolic expansions that could take us to those crazy targets that people talk about, $200,000 plus, right? How else are we going to get there without coming down and picking up bullish bids? That is necessary. Now let's translate this into Ethereum, okay, quickly, because obviously I'm spending some time here, and I usually talk about Bitcoin first when I talk about any other asset. It's because Bitcoin at the end of the day is usually the biggest fear-inducing asset and FOMO-inducing asset in this market. And if Bitcoin is looking juicy, guys, all eyes on altcoins. At the end of the day, if Bitcoin is looking trashy, be careful, because altcoins will dip a lot harder if Bitcoin dips. Just keep that in mind. So let's take a look at ETH here for a second. And I'm going to quickly remove these oscillators, because the oscillators are definitely overexpanded, definitely in overbought conditions. Guys, we broke through resistance, right? And we're in very psychological levels. And I remember telling you guys in the last couple of days that even if we break these tops, there's not a lot of volume. It's just a psychological level, right? That's all it is. But it is resistance regardless. And you have to understand, getting into price discovery introduces a lot of risk here for Ethereum. So although it is a bullish event, and I'm super happy that to see Ethereum run, I would say that I am not very happy if people start getting into fresh longs right now on Ethereum. The time to go long was down here. And after a move like this, guys, I couldn't recommend it to anybody. And I said this last night, despite another push to the upside of 6-7% today, I still remain. The fact is, yeah, you might get a little bit more. You might come up to 5,000, maybe 5,500. But if you get a retracement, how deep do we go? It could be the fact that we come back right to this zone. That's totally fine. But guess what you're doing? You're resetting your risk. Because at this level, if we make a nice bottom, we can put a stop loss and go at it. At this moment, without a rounded bottom, without a level of support that is nearby, with a great risk to reward ratio, where are you going to put your stop loss? You have no choice but to put it here, maybe. Down here, forget about it. Like, you got to measure, and you got to start measuring what kind of losses that will take on the daily time frame for you to protect yourself. It's a 23% dip. That's a pretty big dip. Right? So you got to really understand that what we're trying to do is get into healthy risk to reward. Ethereum is not giving it to us right now. And if you notice, all the other altcoins are showing lots of strength while Ethereum is pumping. Even projects that are other L1s that are pumping right now are obviously running on the back of that front run idea that eventually there's going to be a rotation in other L1s. And like I said before, it's going to happen when we see Ethereum in a very risky spot, and that is defined as price discovery. We're going to see individuals slowly rotating into the Solana's, the Solonzos, the Cardonzos, all those guys, the AVAXs, all of that's going to definitely catch up, and they're going to get the rotation. Okay, we already seen Chainlink wake up, and there's a real clear reason why I think Chainlink is catching bids. Chainlink is everywhere, and this has a lot to do with Ethereum, because Ethereum at the end of the day impacts a lot of other narratives as well, particularly DeFi. And DeFi is the home of DeFi begins in Ethereum, and ultimately we start to ask ourselves, what other impacts does DeFi have? Well, we need an Oracle, and there we have Chainlink, right? So we have to really understand what the market is looking for, what the market's going to be interested in right now, and it is risk to reward. What other projects in this space are at the bottom of the range that haven't caught their bids, but still align very nicely with either the Ethereum narrative or some sort of bullish narrative that exists at the current moment, right? Whether it be DeFi, real world assets, gaming, whatever it is that you think that right now is bullish, look for risk to rewards, bottom level price action. Ethereum, congrats, you did a great job. Now, price discovery, let it run, let it go parabolic. Let's talk about targets. And I usually don't do this. Let's keep that real as well. What do I expect from Ethereum? It's very difficult because price discovery doesn't give you historical data to use, right? If you look left, there's nothing happening, right? We're in, dead zone. But ultimately, Ethereum is going to be totally alive. Ethereum is going to have so much life in it. The question is, we don't have a benchmark. We don't have any data at this or any ideas what to use. So we have to use theory, which is the most important or the most common Fibonacci. Okay, so we can use this general area. We can use this. We can use this. Let's just kind of keep it loose because generally this range is very loose anyway. So let's do swing high to swing low. Let's make this a little bit more valid right into here. Here we have the 1.618. That's great. Nice extension level. You go up. You have the 3.618 right into this level. 11,000, 4.618, you're at 14,000. How many 618s extension golden pocket levels can we actually take? The answer is nobody knows. Nobody knows, not even I. Nobody has a crystal ball to tell you when that happens. What we have to do is wait and see how the market reacts at these levels, right? That's all you could really do. Psychological levels, nice round numbers, 10,000. That's a perfect psychological zone, right? Very close, more or less, right around the extension level. Even the 3.127, right around here. The 3.618 is great. 11,000, maybe we might get a nice wick up to that level, a quick wick, and blow off top, and come right back down. So psychological numbers, nice round numbers. This is a great way to think about it. Extension levels using Fibonacci. That's another great way to think about it. Market cap and overall total market cap and seeing the inflows and all of that is obviously an indication. But again, it's the sentiment in the market that's going to give you the biggest indicator, guys. Retail is going to give you a very good indication of where we're going. If this market starts to buzz day and night, and we see a lot of people with tons of gains, guys, we're going to have to make some critical decisions. Taking profits, where do we get in, on the back tests, on the confirmations, because at the end of the day, we're going to want some exposure. We're going to have to. But right now, Ethereum, exposure is very difficult. So again, guys, I'm trying to be very honest at these levels. It's very difficult for me to say this is a healthy time to DCA and buy the dip, because there's no dip, not even a little one. Ethereum is cranking. Congrats, let it go. I think that at previous highs, we might get a bit of a reaction or maybe not. But at the end of the day, when the reaction happens, we will let it fall. We will let it create a nice floor price. Any imbalances will get filled. Any sentiment will definitely get, corrected, because when we're overly bullish, we need to kind of get back to reality a little bit and get grounded. And a dip will definitely bring that to the market back to healthy mentality, and then we'll start reaccumulating on some other altcoins, even if it's Ethereum in itself, because Ethereum could still do a few X's. All right, guys, so overall we got to be very patient. I want to show you some of these oscillators because they're definitely up there. As you can see, overbought for too long for me. It's too long for me to get into fresh longs. The trend oscillator is looking beautiful, guys. This is what's keeping me still interested. It's still interesting here to see Ethereum doing this. Look, we're definitely in bull territory. Look at this, in the bullish control zone. We rolled right back up there. So nice, very nice. The expansion is slightly higher than the last one, which is still good. And as you can see, everything is kind of diverging to the upside very nicely. Okay, so doing great. However, do we go for another parabolic run, or do we come down for a little bit of dip? For the next few days? I don't know, guys, but I'm not willing to find out, and I'm not willing to put my hard-earned capital at risk to find out. I'd rather let the data play out. Let's see where we go, and I'll buy in on a pullback, even if it is at a slightly higher price. All good. I'll pay the premium so I don't take too much risk. Hope you understand, guys. That is a very conservative way of thinking and trading, and conservative trading at the end of the day is one that considers great risk to reward and risk management. All right, guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor, slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys, have a good one, and don't forget, buy the dip.